Hello and welcome to another episode of Candid Talks with Bharat V. This is Bharat Vatsa, your host of the show. And in today's episode, we'll be talking to Shally Bhasin, a lawyer with almost 25 years of experience and a partner in Agrawal Law Associates, one of India's leading litigation firms. She is one of the three lawyers who resolved India's largest bankruptcy case and now have set their sights on a new, bigger target and want more and more women in the courts. India has seen women in top political offices as Prime Minister and President and Chief Ministers, and in top corporate jobs as well. And yet, it remains deeply patriarchal in its attitudes. तो चलिए बातों का सिलसिला शुरू करते हैं विद शैली भसीन और जानते हैं हाउ शी along with others represent a change in India's legal landscape, where finding female role models is hard but are also reminders that more needs to change in the nation. Please do listen to the episode till the end. Before we begin, please do not forget to subscribe to this podcast channel, and you can connect with me on my Facebook page at Candid Talks with Bharat V. So let's welcome Shally Bhasin. Hi Shally, thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast Candid Talks with Bharat V. How are you doing?
Very well, Bharat. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. So for all our listeners, Shally Bhasin is a lawyer with almost 25 years of experience, and she's a partner in Agrawal Law Associates, one of the India's leading litigation firms. She also specializes in corporate litigation and appears before Supreme Court, Delhi High Court, and other tribunals. So Shally, before we begin, just wanted to call out or rather read out few facts, and please feel free to interrupt in case if I am wrong anywhere. So until 1921, when the first female lawyer was allowed to practice in India, and women did not fit the description of the term person that time, during those days as defined in the colonial era laws and the guided legal practice. So only in 1989, I believe, after the independence, 42 years after independence, when a woman became a judge in India's top court, and in 2009, a woman represented the federal government in courts. Am I correct in saying that?
In 1989?
2009.
No, in the Supreme Court, we had Fatima Bibi long before that.
Yeah, so that was 1989, 42 years after independence,
Yes.
when she became the judge. And I think in 2009, when a woman represented the federal government in courts.
We don't have a federal government in
Okay.
India. We have a central government and the state government here.
Okay, yeah.
Women have been representing the governments, whether it's state government or central government. They've been representing them in various courts for a long time now.
But I believe only 10% of India's lawyers are women, I believe. Is that correct?
So I don't know the exact statistics, but yes, it could be correct.
So, and what I also, got to know is that, and most of the high profile are among who are leading the practice in Delhi and Mumbai. So this inadequate pipeline, which has led the shortage of the women in judiciary. And as per the World Bank study, I'm not saying this, I believe among 122 economies with at least one female justice in higher judiciary, India has the smallest share of women on the bench.
Could be actually now recently for the first time we had 3 women judges at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has just retired a few months ago.
Okay.
So we had 3 at a time, which is the big thing. Before that, since Fatima Bibi, we've only had 1 at a time. It could be a token, to women being on the central, on the Supreme Court.
Okay.
But we recently had 3. We still have 2 on them.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's big progress. But in the high courts, especially in the Delhi High Court, I can say for a fact there are a lot of women judges now.
Okay. So the reason, I wanted to call out these facts, I just wanted to understand, I mean, what is the main reason, according to you, why, there is so shortage of women in the judiciary system? And is it because of the Indian mentality of the male dominance? Is that one of the factors?
See, how it trickles down is that if first there have to be enough women in the profession, either in the lower judiciary or in the at the bar.
Mhm.
Okay, it is from these women either they get promoted from the lower judiciary to higher judiciary,
Yeah.
or it is from the bar that they are directly elevated to the courts, to the whether it's the High Court or the Supreme Court. And so for that you need to have enough women in courts, in practice to begin with.
Right.
So when I joined practice about 25 years ago, there were hardly any women.
Okay.
There were hardly any women in the profession, and especially in the Supreme Court, there was hardly any. Okay, and but now that's changed. So as now, especially in Delhi, Bombay, in the metropolitans, the number of women have increased in the profession, and therefore you are seeing higher representation in the judiciary also. That's not to say that it's an idle number.
Yeah. Right.
It's still a long way to go, but it's an improvement.
So do you think that, the number of women lawyers in our district courts, obviously, which is currently very poor, that needs to increase before that representation increases in the higher judiciary system?
Not in the trial court. It's not necessary in the trial court. They need to increase all across. Say it's usually it needs to increase in each court, each forum, whether it's the the trial courts, the High Court, or the Supreme Court, or the tribunals. They need to increase everywhere. Like I said, there's a phenomenal increase from the time I joined in 1996.
Okay.
And now you see women everywhere. Earlier you hardly saw anyone.
Right.
Now you see women everywhere. The younger generation, people in the last, let's say, 8-9 years, the number of women have really increased in the profession. Again, in the metropolitans, I don't think the number is so much in the smaller towns.
Okay.
I don't think so.
So, but then how can this be turned around? I mean, how can, I believe, in the earlier days, mostly like, every household, the children either used to opt for either engineering or medical. Obviously, law was a third option, but that was primarily being taken up by the male generation, not the females. And maybe it was because of the kind of surroundings or the impact of the society that resulted into that. But then now, as more and more younger generation is coming up with more and more exposure to the judiciary system and to the not many things, still the way the number should have been increased, it's not happening. So how can this be turned around? I mean, according to you, if I ask you, what should be done?
No, see, any profession, this is true of all professions, that women are lesser in any profession than the men.
Yeah.
Whether it's the medical field or or engineering or you take the legal field, women are always less by numbers, by the very fact that women are hindered by a lot of facts. Some people, a lot of our society is still not open to girls working outside, or if they are okay with working, then they want them to be just teachers. They don't want, they don't want them long hours, and they don't want their girls to do a profession like this which has long hours. Then they thought that medicine is a safer profession. You hardly see women engineers. They thought, okay, medicine is a respectable profession.
Correct.
That tag of respectability,
right?
Perhaps it was not associated with law earlier.
Right.
Also, in our profession, the hours are really, really long. That's not to say about any other profession that they don't have to work hard or their hours are not long.
Yeah.
But here, you have to. It is labor intensive. The profession. It looks. People see these, these serials, and they think it's a very glamorous profession and all
Right.
that. And that's not.
Yeah.
It just looks glamorous. It a lot of hard work goes into what comes out in court. So for women also, it's always a choice. Girls do enter the profession. That's also at my time when also a lot of girls had joined, but then sometimes they get married and they're not allowed to continue, or they have children and they are not allowed to continue, or they're not able to continue for various personal reasons. So as a result, the number of women in the profession dwindles. But like I said, things are changing. They have changed, and at least in cities, you see, I have in our Agarwal Law Associates, I think we have a 50-50, if not 50, then 60-40 ratio of men and women.
Okay.
And that's true in a lot of law firms. In like I said, in the metropolitans, you see a lot of them. I would say that we have one of the best ratios. But like I said, things are improving, but these are factors which affect. Some families do not like the long hours. They don't like their girls coming in late in the night, or...
So do you think the safety can be one of the concern?
Yes, safety is definitely one of the concerns.
Because since it is very much directly, maybe they have to work hand in hand with the law enforcing, teams like police and other specific.
No, but women in the criminal legal system are still very few because of these reasons. Like I do criminal work at the higher judiciary level, which is High Court or Supreme Court, but I don't do it at the trial courts level. I've never done it. I've gone to trial courts, but that's not my cup of tea. Dealing with the police, dealing at all those levels, it's a totally different ball game.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And so there are fewer girls at that level in the criminal legal system, or criminal law practice as we call it, and but that's not so on the civil side. It's more to do with what families think. Each family has its own value system, and like I said, it's better in the cities. People are more open-minded, and and it's not that the girls, they have to understand, we don't send the girls home alone. There's always a cab, or there is, somebody drops them, or those kind of things. The girls also are independent. Usually they have their own cars, for them to drive around. So it's all about safety, but it's all about the protection. You know how the younger lot is now all have cars. When we joined, we didn't have. Now they all have, and that's a smart choice that they all make.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So things are better, but again, it's not so in small towns, just like anything else. And it's not just to do with the legal field. I think the legal field, as opposed to medicine, still carries a black mark. People are not very comfortable with. Also, another thing is that people are not very comfortable with women who are lawyers.
Right.
As in, people don't want them as their daughters-in-law.
Right.
It's a common phenomena that I've heard. I have not faced it. I'm just saying that it's even in cities you find it. It's a joke which is made. It is a joke which is made that just because she's a lawyer, she will be, all kind of jokes are made.
Okay.
At the end. So that's I'm just saying that's the mentality of the people.
Right.
So
how did you, if I may ask you, how did you get into this field? I mean, what made you choose this field?
No, so I had when I was in Shillong doing my I did my graduation from there.
Yeah.
And so I had some friends who were doing law there.
Okay.
And then I was interested in this.
Shillong Law College?
No. I did it from law. They were doing from Shillong Law College.
Okay.
I was doing my graduation from St. Mary's.
Okay. Okay.
And so some people were studying there. And then I came down and my father said, why don't you go into this field? And, we had this chat. And then that's how I decided to enter the
Okay.
field. My father did his law also. So he kept telling me about the various, I read his books. So I was interested. So that's how.
Okay. Even he has done the law. Okay.
He was an army officer, but he did his law. So.
Okay. So moving on now, coming to the interesting chapter of your life, I wanted to talk about, the one of the India's largest bankruptcy case in which you were involved in. So, and if we talk about that, can you tell us, our listeners, what that case was all about? And I believe that was around 5.6 billion of dollars that was recovered.
You're talking about the Reliance,
the SR Steel and ArcelorMittal case.
No, so basically, SR Steel went through a very bad phase. Steel prices went down, and so they were facing a lot of. Basically, that was a big thing, and they were heavily leveraged. Their balance sheet was heavily leveraged. As in, there were a lot of loans which they had taken, and then they were not able to repay those loans, service their their debt agreements in time. As a result, then this law had come in, the bankruptcy law, when it came in Solvency and Bankruptcy Act, when it was brought into force. It was basically, it's a largely draconian law.
Okay.
So earlier what happened was that the bankers would give them more time, would restructure the loan, giving them more time, putting different conditions. This worked both for the banks as well as the companies. But as you know, in our system, we have seen so many of defaulters. Right. They defaulted and they ran away from the country, or they were siphoning off and they did not pay. And we have had these scams and all. So the government, in order to overcome them, came up with this absolutely blanket act. They said that if you can't pay your debts by a certain period, then the banks have to file for insolvency against you.
Okay.
So there is no choice given. So the banks had to file for insolvency, and then it took its own course. And so then at some point, you see what happens is that you want to save the company rather than so that you can draw value out of the company, because SR Steel was a huge company and it had a lot of value.
Yeah.
It is just that they were not being able to service the loans.
Right.
So rather than, if you go into liquidation of a company, then you just break it up,
Correct.
Think of a machine and you just break up its part and sell it like scrap. You don't get much value.
Absolutely.
So the value is to save the company. So then, there are bids. So the banks there is a committee of creditors and on the whole not. I'm not going to bore you with the whole thing.
Yeah.
And then they call for bids. Then ArcelorMittal was the successful bidder. There was a lot of litigation.
Okay.
Amongst SR Steel and them, amongst other creditors came against it, against this bid. So there were a lot of litigation concerning that bid, where not by SR Steel but by other stakeholders. And ultimately it went with ArcelorMittal bought over SR Steel. And the debts, so there was a resolution plan. There was a resolution plan by which, you have to come, the buyer has to come up with a resolution plan, how to pay off the debts of the banks and of the other creditors. Right. Of course, everyone has to take a haircut.
Yeah.
But so it was the successful resolution applicant.
So this entire case was initiated by the banks, if I am not mistaken.
Yes.
Okay. And the roles, here was played by you, and there were two other lawyers along with you, I believe, Ruby, Ahuja, and Nisha. So three of you were involved in this entire.
So no, with me, my whole firm was involved. There were a lot of lawyers handling it. With them also, there were a lot of lawyers handling it.
Okay. If I may ask, I believe all these three parties were involved in their own separate domain in bringing this to a closure. So, if I may ask, can you please help us with the roles that you three parties played in this entire game plan?
See, one was for ArcelorMittal. So they were driving the buyer, the resolution applicant. They brought in the resolution applicant. He gave his bid. They fought all the litigation for them. Ruby, I'm forgetting who was Ruby for. And we were for some of the creditors.
Okay.
And of course, we didn't succeed there because ArcelorMittal is the one which succeeded. But
Okay.
it went on back and forth it came up to Supreme Court a couple of times, went back, and before the NCLT board,
Okay.
tribunal, and all of that. So we were for some of the creditors, and Misha was for ArcelorMittal. Like I said, I'm forgetting who Ruby was for, but maybe she was for the bankers. I'm not sure.
Okay.
So that's how.
Okay. So finally, for how long this entire case, continued, and when did it finally was laid to rest?
I think for a year.
Okay. Okay. So finally, what was the outcome? How was this case settled then?
No, it wasn't settled. Basically, after ArcelorMittal won at every forum, and therefore
okay.
it succeeded in its bid. So today, SR Steel now belongs to ArcelorMittal.
Oh, so they have taken it over completely. Okay.
Yes, they've taken it over completely with all its assets.
Okay. Okay. So apart from this case, Shally, can you tell us any other interesting case which had been one of your memorable cases of lifetime until so far?
So I'm doing this case, which is still it's more or less ended now. It's called, people refer to it colloquially as the AGR case. It's so I'm representing Vodafone there.
Okay.
And where the whole telecom industry is involved. So it's a dispute which is going on since 2006, 2007, and has now ended in 2020. And it is regarding, so telecom companies pay a certain license fee,
right,
and spectrum usage charges to the government, which is DOT, Department of Telecom, for the spectrum and the license that they have taken. Now that is based on percentage of their gross revenue.
Okay.
And certain things are exempted from that. There are certain exceptions which are not to be counted in the gross revenue. So there was, under definition of this adjusted gross revenue, gross revenue after making these exceptions was called adjusted gross revenue.
Right.
This definition has been in dispute since 2006.
Okay.
So the expert body which looks after telecom disputes is the Telecom Dispute Appellate Tribunal, Settlement and Dispute Appellate Tribunal. They so it's called TDSAT, and so the dispute was pending started before them, came up to Supreme Court thrice.
Okay.
And we succeeded at each time. We means the telecom industry.
Okay.
So, and the last judgment was by TDSAT was in 2015, where they set aside all the demands against. The demands run into thousands of crores.
Okay.
Not small demand, but run into thousands of crores for each company. So there was Vodafone, Airtel, Reliance, so on and so forth, Tata. And so finally, in the third round in the Supreme Court, we lost. The decision was against the telecom industry.
Okay.
And it was a hotly contested. It went on for 6 months in the Supreme Court. And the judgment came out in October and 2019, and where the telecom industry was held against the telecom industry, and they were again saddled with demands of thousands of crores, lakhs of thousands of crores. And like, for example, Vodafone has been saddled with a demand of 54,000 crores.
Okay.
So not 54 crores, not 54,000, but 54 1,000 crores.
Wow.
And a bulk of that is penalty and interest on penalty and all of that. So there is again a dispute whether, so the interest and interest on penalty consists of 3/4 of the demand. The principal amount is very small,
Okay.
but the bulk of the demand is interest, penalty, and
Right.
interest on penalty, which takes out a two-third of the 3/4 of demand is just that. So, we were trying to convince the court that, this is unfair. We've succeeded since 2006,
Right.
but the court has not agreed with us.
Oh.
So this has been going on for, I personally have been handling it like from 2010 or
Okay.
2011.
Okay.
So I'm greatly involved with the matter, and so having lost it was a big
Blow.
blow.
Right.
Because, they say you should not get personally involved with matters. But
Yeah,
you do
yeah.
get personally involved with matters. I was also handling it for Reliance Communication
Okay.
and Reliance Infrastructure, the Anil Ambani companies.
Yeah.
Then, of course, in the last round in the Supreme Court, we didn't handle it because they went into insolvency also.
Oh, okay.
So the insolvency lawyers were looking after that.
Okay.
So having handled it, it stays with you. And
No, obviously, I mean, you have been working with this case for so long, I think since 2010-11. Obviously, then, not chahte hue bhi aap, you become a part of that. You become a part of that entire
you're
thing.
part of a daily decision. Your daily discussion with the
Absolutely.
with the clients, and it becomes your matter.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
it's not
So,
just something you do.
this recent merger of Vodafone and Idea, was it because of that?
No, that came before.
अच्छा वो पहले
So,
हुआ था क्या? Okay.
Idea was also a client. Vodafone Idea merged 3 years ago, but that was a commercial decision.
अच्छा. Nothing impacted because of this. Okay.
No. That was a synergy, because the synergies become much better, and you cut down on the excess. So you streamline your operations, because instead of having everything double, you can get a single thing.
Right. Right.
So you cut down your losses, you cut down your expenses. So it becomes a trimmer, healthier company.
Okay.
So that was the merger. That was totally independent.
So are you also involved in any of the activities or programs, involving towards creating awareness among the women, obviously, to take up into the, to get into the legal practice or take up legal practice as their careers?
No, sometimes, lots of time, lawyers or law students also call me.
Okay.
So sometimes we are called for lectures also, to address them and to address their things. But and sometimes they get in touch with you because they want to know how are their fields. People want to get in touch with you whether to send their children, whether boys or girls. Sometimes specifically they want to know whether they should send their girl.
Okay.
In this profession, the pros and cons. So unfortunately, there is no such program to encourage women into entering into the profession.
Okay.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
There should be one. I could be a part of it, but there isn't any.
But you do provide guidance if anybody reaches out to you.
Anytime, and lots of times, sometimes even the law students call and say that, I am so and so and I'm studying in first year. What do you think? And second year, third year, we provide a lot of internships also to law students.
Okay.
Summer and December, both, whenever. So lots of them come and intern with us.
So do you have any blogs or anything that you write that, the aspirants out there in the world, I mean, they can go through that? Anything that you have?
No, so we write on various topics from time to time, but I wish I had the time to write a blog for them. But the profession is such, it doesn't leave you with much time.
I know.
Earlier I used to write articles quite a bit on general legal topics.
Okay.
Now I don't have the time, so I don't. But when the interns come, they discuss with you, and they want guidance and whatever, and they sometimes want to know what they should do in the future, and what is the profession all about, and all of that. So we
Okay.
try. So we do that.
So, in whatever time you are left with, the spare time, what do you like to do? What are your personal interests and hobbies?
So I love to read. I love to read. The unfortunate side effect of our profession is all about reading. So sometimes, so
Don't you get
then
bored of reading, because during your entire law practice, you need to keep on referring the law books.
that's
You
what I'm
need to
saying.
keep
So
on reading.
my reading has taken a hit.
Okay.
But sometimes, once in a while I do pick up a book because I really enjoy when I get into it.
Okay.
But it's like earlier on at the end of the day, when you were in college and all of that, or school,
Yeah.
end of the day, you would read something and then before you sleep, or just if you're on a Sunday. Now, you're on one Sunday. Also, you have conferences. Conferences means when we brief senior advocates
Right.
or
Yeah.
meeting clients and all of that.
Yeah.
So Sundays also go away. So reading is, except when I'm on vacation, then I try and read. And nowadays, I in COVID times, so I do cook sometimes on the weekends.
Okay.
I cook on the weekends just as a stress buster.
Okay.
It helps because that is the only time my mind goes absolutely blank. So that's nice. And I love to play with my dog. So
Okay. So you being so busy with your schedule, being a lawyer, how does your family, cope up with that? I mean, what do they have to say? I mean, your family members, especially your
so
kids.
so they have given up. I have one daughter,
Okay.
but now she's gone off to Canada. She studies there. She's in third year now,
Okay.
and
What is she studying, by the way?
she's studying psychology.
Okay.
She's doing a psychology honors and a history major
From?
there. So she has from there is Western University in London, Ontario.
Okay.
She's studying from there, from Huron
Okay.
College.
Okay.
And she had decided long back when she was a kid that she doesn't want to be a lawyer.
Uh-huh.
She said, no, that's too much work, So
You never pushed her into being a lawyer?
I know. It's her wish, no point pushing. I never believed in it. So, in fact, like I said earlier, law was, to put it very bluntly, in my time, they said who has nothing else to do becomes a lawyer. But now, law is a very sought after profession.
Yeah, absolutely.
So children are going by the thousands, tens of thousands every year, into the profession. I don't know how is the profession big enough to hold all of them. But she used to tell her friends, her classmates, that if you want to join law, it's not an easy profession. She used to know them. She said you have to work, 16, 18 hours a day. And she says, don't think that, you'll just go, don't watch Suits, that serial, and think it's a glamorous thing and all you will do is just, look good and
Right.
just argue some fancy this thing. It doesn't happen in real life.
Yeah, but that was, by the way, one of my favorite serials. I mean, the series I've watched completely.
But real
Very
life is
addictive.
not like that.
Yeah,
Very addictive, very good, very well made. But even in the US, it's not like that.
Okay.
So while growing up, I got divorced when she was 6.
Okay.
And I remarried about 6 years ago.
Okay.
And so she knew that her mother works. And as she says today, that she's learned to work hard from me,
Okay.
And but she's seen me work. I used to come late. I used to live with my parents, or my parents lived with me, whatever.
Achha.
And so she got used to the hours. But I spent whatever time I could, with her, and we used to read. And so there is this concept of quality time. I don't know whether that's quality time or not, but she doesn't grudge it. She's never grudged it. She never complained that, that you're not there. And she's touch wood grown up to be a healthy, intelligent, happy person. So I guess it would have been all right.
Awesome. So we have almost reached towards the end of our show, Shally. Any parting words for all such Indian women who are the law aspirants?
Work hard, don't be scared, push forward. You're the best. You have to believe in yourself. Don't get scared.
Awesome.
I wanted to say something.
Yeah.
Men, it's changed, but still I would say at the trial court levels, try to intimidate women, young girls, then, oh, what are you, that kind.
Yeah.
But don't be scared. Believe in yourself.
I think the message actually needs to go out there in the mass. And that was the intention of, having this, because somewhere or the other, even I can correlate, because, since there are so very few women in this particular profession, and I've been seeing there are so many, programs or so many platforms for promoting other professions, but for legal profession, I mean, I don't see that kind of a platform anywhere. I'm not sure about abroad, outside India, but at least within India I have not seen that.
No, there is nothing. That's very unfortunate. But I would like to say that if you're ready to, and people don't like it when I say, but I do believe, and I think people also believe, that women work harder than they're more sincere than men.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think, and there's nothing to, hide in that. And it's a known fact.
So if given the opportunity, they always shine. They always do well because of their sincerity. Okay. See, intelligence is equal in all genders.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's got nothing to do with genders, but their zeal to work is there more in women. So given a chance, they will always shine. I know so many women lawyers, and they are such fantastic lawyers. You take Misha, they are such fantastic lawyers,
Yeah.
And I know the younger lot, and things have improved, Bharat, but unfortunately, I would say only in the metropolitans that things have improved.
Absolutely.
And so, here, because people are more open-minded, they know more, so they are more malleable, to let their girls enter this profession.
Absolutely.
Also, I think the profession is gaining in respectability. So once that trickles down, it'll take good 10 years or so, but once it trickles down to smaller towns and to other cities, it is bound to help. There's a manifold increase in women, so I would believe all is not lost.
Absolutely. Perfect. So thank you so much for joining us today, Shally. It was simply wonderful talking to you, and all the very best to you for all your future cases. And talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Bye, and stay safe.
You too.
Thank you. Bye now. Bye. So that was Shally Bhasin, who was actively involved in resolving India's largest bankruptcy case last year. She is definitely one of those women lawyers who represents a change in India's legal landscape, where finding female role models is hard, and are also reminders that more needs to change in the nation. Thank you all so much for listening to this episode of the podcast show Candid Talks with Bharat V. If you like the show, please do like, subscribe and share with others. If listening on Apple Podcast, do not forget to rate 5 stars. If on Spotify or YouTube, do not forget to subscribe and share. इसके साथ हम आज का सफ़र यहीं समाप्त करते हैं। बहुत जल्द मुलाकात होगी अगले शो पर एक नए टॉपिक के साथ, नए लोगों के साथ, नए अंदाज में on Candid Talks with Bharat V. Stay home, stay safe. This is Bharat Vatsa signing off for today. दुआओं में याद रखना। जय हिंद।